Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Heart Wisdom, Jack Kornfield's podcast on the Be Here Now network. My name is Ganesh Das. I am Jack's assistant, and as always, completely honored to open the door to this fresh video episode stemming from Spirit Rock's new Stupa celebration. Jack Kornfield has installed a new Stupa on the grounds of Spirit Rock Meditation Center in California. In this episode and next episode will be the Dharma talk and ensuing celebration, which happened for the consecration of this Buddhist stupa, as well as Jack Kornfield's 80th birthday. These two episodes are chock full of guest appearances. We have Sylvia Borstein, James Beres, Howard Cohn, all founding teachers of Spirit Rock, giving small Dharma talks. Ajahn Pisano, leading monks in chanting, as well as giving some teachings. Then Joan Baez and her son Gabe Harris, bringing musical entertainment that brings us back to our hearts. So I don't know if you've ever been to a stupa. I've been to a few in my life, and it is always a rather breathtaking moment. They are striking. They, for some reason, bring you directly into contact with the present. And they are actually built to do this. There is a reason for the specific imagery, the iconography, the colors. Jack goes over some of this and what a stupa represents, as well as sharing about his legacy with Spirit Rock and what Spirit Rock has meant for the Dharma world over the years, and also where Spirit Rock is going in the future, with this stupa being one of the primary installations marking this new era. And having said that, if you are interested at all in visiting this stupa or in taking part in any of the retreats, day-longs, Dharma talks, musical events at Spirit Rock, whether in person or online, you can head to spiritrock.org and find out what they have going on. They have quite a bit that suits your specific flavor of the Dharma. And I would be remiss not to mention the passing of the brilliant Buddhist teacher, Robert Thurman. I had the honor of meeting him and experiencing his teachings at the Love Serve Remember Ram Dass retreat in May of 2019. And it was absolutely life-changing. Thank you for everything, Robert Thurman. So there we go. If you'd like to keep up with Jack's newest teachings, his courses, guided meditations, anything you could be looking for, head to jackkornfield.com. And if you'd like those delivered to your inbox, head to jackkornfield.com/newsletter to sign up. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy this episode and our next episode, diving in to Spirit Rock's Stupa celebration and consecration and Jack Kornfield's 80th birthday party. May you be happy and healthy. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease, and may the Dharma find you everywhere you go. Namaste.
It's a great pleasure to see you all, for us to gather in this community hall. And today we get to celebrate more or less 40 years of Spirit Rock, depending how you want to see its beginning. It's somewhere like that, shorter or longer. We get to open the stupa, and I'll talk about that a a little bit. Somebody suggested that it might be a good place to do a dark retreat, actually. You just go in and close the door, but there isn't a lot of ventilation. Well, it's just your last retreat. Anyway, and we get to celebrate as well. My beloved Trudy and I both turned 80 this last summer, and we looked at each other and said, 80? I guess if there's anything we want to do, we better get to it, right? Basically. So we're here together to celebrate all of that. And also to take this time to share and acknowledge and offer in whatever way we can, kind of heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for one another, because that's actually how it's all happened together. And I also am pleased that today is Eastover. It's Passover and Easter and spring and, all of those things, the perfect day to be celebrating. Also, we have probably an hour of various teachings and rituals and things like that. And I want to say, kind of to welcome you, that we are in ritual space, which is different than performance. In performance, you figure it out and then you do it right or something. Ritual, as my ritual, Malodoma Somé was my great ritual elder and master said, a good ritual has to have some chaos as part of it so that something unplanned can happen and it's not just the rigidity of the past. So we don't quite know what will happen. Kuan Yin will record it all, but it will be what it is. And, in the temples in Thailand, and we're very fortunate to have Ajahn Pasano here, who I'll talk about. In the village temples, not so much the forest monasteries, the kids run around, the people are cooking, and the monks are chanting, and the nuns. It all kind of happens together. It's not separated as if there's just one sacred thing. So I welcome you in that spirit, and really in the spirit of joy and delight. And to add to that, there will be cake later. So, but you have to get to the end of the Passover service or something first, all those prayers. So here we are in 2026, and we're also in a world of polarization and war and continuing racism and climate disruption and all of those kind of things that create human suffering. And we come together also in the spirit of the Buddha and his teachings, who said from the very beginning that who a human being is not limited by race or birth or creed from 2,600 years ago. That one becomes a noble being or a worthy or in some way of being worthy of respect, not by the birth or caste or creed or color, but by the state of your heart, but by the quality of your being. And whoever you are, in the end, you're not limited by the culture and the definitions. Who you are is magnificent. And when Nelson Mandela walked out of 27 years in Robben Island prison with such magnanimity and graciousness and compassion, it changed the world. He also said in a very visible way that they can put your body in prison, but no one can imprison your spirit. And in part, our practice and our gathering and all of Spirit Rock is a way of honoring that that's true and taking the teachings, in particular the Buddhist teachings, that cultivate and develop, and more than that, affirm your basic goodness and beauty and say, this is who you are, and you can live this in this world. It values every human being. I like those Buddhist texts that begin, "O nobly born," because they remind you, you who are the sons and daughters of the awakened ones, remember your true nature. So, we also know that we have some very powerful, you could call it medicine or teachings, that the world needs desperately at this time. And I did a teaching a couple of weeks ago for an event for 10,000 people in Ukraine. And I asked, so what's your problems, right? And they said, well, we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed, we're frightened, we're terrified, we have grief. We don't want this war. We don't know how to carry on. We've lost our faith. What you got? Is there anything that can help? And the teachings that I did, which frankly I was nervous about, like how do you speak into that space where people are experiencing so much deep suffering around them and in their communities, and fear and all of that. And I called on the moral authority of the teachers that I've known that have done that, of Mahagosananda leading people through the killing fields and the ex-minefields in Cambodia, chanting hatred never ends by hatred, by the thousands, to say you can reclaim your land with your feet and with your heart. With the Dalai Lama losing everything and saying, I will not let them take over my heart. I gave, as I could, practices and teachings of grounding, of the earth is my witness, of practices to release the suffering in the body, to not let it take over, to remind yourself that hatred never ends by hatred, and that this is really your great human birthright. It was very, very moving to do it. A little poem for you, one line. It sort of sums up our dilemma at this time, and maybe most of human history. On the muzzle of a cannon, a yellow butterfly is open and closing its wings. And here we are. We have the wars in Ukraine and Iran and Sudan and the Rohingya and I could just kind of go through the long list. You know this list. We have all of that. And then the great poet Pablo Neruda wrote, you can pick all the flowers, but you can't stop the spring. That there's something huge and magnificent and beautiful that's also happening. And that is our birthright, to remember that and be part of that and foster that in our own hearts, to not be taken over. And I remember the monastery of Ajahn Chah, where I trained as a monk, where Ajahn Pasano trained. It was in a province that was on the border of Cambodia and Laos during the Vietnam era war, where we were, gosh, do we ever do this? We happened to be bombing Cambodia and Laos. What decade is it and who are we bombing, basically? And you could see the bombers go overhead. And people asked Ajahn Chah about, go out and demonstrate. And part of his response was to say, this monastery is a zone of peace. It is a place to remind people wars come and go, but we don't want people to forget that there's a timeless truth of freedom and compassion and respect and virtue that is our true human heritage. And when you come here, when you went there, you felt it. It was really palpable. And in the war zone, anything is game. People will ransack the temples and sell things because they need food to stay safe. There you could lose your gold, whatever it was, and someone would pick it up and put it on the altar and save it for you because everything was treated with respect. And to be in an environment where the the trees and the animals and the humans all live with respect was like a living display of what is possible for us. This from the Pali Anguttara Nikaya. Just as if there were a beautiful pond with a pleasant shore, its water being clear, cool, agreeable, transparent, and a person came by scorched, exhausted by the heat, fatigued by the troubles and burdens of the world, parched and thirsty. And they would dip into the pond and bathe and drink, and all their fatigue and feverishness and fear and plight would be allayed. In this way, dear ones, when one hears the teachings of the Dharma, the teachings of the truth of liberation, be it words and discourses, poems, practices, meditations, compassion, loving kindness, all of these practices, one's fatigue and plight and feverishness and burning will dissipate, and one can live with a free heart no matter where they are. So it's kind of the game here in some way. It's what we've done. And we've had 100,000 people come on retreats in this land or more in the last 40 years. We've had hundreds of thousands online. 1,000 teachers we've sent out into the world, more, teaching. And also we had, for our tradition, and maybe in most of the Buddhist traditions in the West, we had the first LGBT retreat that I know of anywhere. We had the first African American retreat and first retreat for people of color. I love the African American retreat. I walked in the campus, okay, and it looked different. It was full of Black people. And there we were. I was sort of invited for a little bit into the hall. I guess I was an honorary whatever for those moments. And we're sitting there, Alice Walker and a bunch of the great teachers. And then Alice Walker says, you know, my ancestors are really happy. We here are practicing the Dharma, and the white folks are down in the kitchen cooking for us, right? But there was something magical about that it happened, just as it was magic to have the LGBT retreat. Just as equally important was our support in the very beginning for the East Bay Meditation Center, for Buddhist Peace Fellowship. We were some of the earlier supporters, and then they've grown in their own way as things do. We've had retreats for healers, educators, business people, family retreats. We just got a $3 to $10 million grant to train climate activists because they burn out. And so we've started doing these trainings to support what I call inner climate change so that they can sustain themselves and come from a different place in their work. In all these ways, people have come here and they're touched. And we have an expression that if you ever come here at the end of like a 10-day retreat or the 2-month retreat especially, and you see people as they kind of come out of exile or whatever they were on their retreat, it's called the Vipassana facelift, basically. Because they go in and they're haggard and, oh my God, I had to get everything together to go on this damn retreat. And then you look at them and their brows are clear and they're smiling like, oh, if only I could live that way, right? I want to ask you, how many of you had your lives in some way changed by the practices and teachings you learned here? Raise your hand. Okay, I see a few of you didn't raise your hand. We'll get you later. But look at that. That's partly why we're here. And it's not like you should be or proselytizing. It's just that there's something beautiful. about the land. People love this land and come and want to walk and remember, and it's in their dreams. And about the teachings, how do you practice loving kindness, compassion? How do you work with the stress and difficulty in your mind and heart? How do you steady yourself in this crazy world? How do you practice forgiveness? All of those things change us. So the land, the practices, and the community. And Thich Nhat Hanh talked about how the next Buddha would be the Sangha, because we're all looking, who's going to be the next Buddha? Maybe it's you, could be possible, but maybe it's us. Actually, maybe it's all of us carrying that together. So again, let's just sit for a minute or so. You don't have to change your posture. You don't have to look weird. Just let's be quiet. You're weird enough as you are. Come on. Just be quiet for a minute and feel the field of community. These people all raised their hand because it mattered. Their lives were changed. Something beautiful and beneficial came. And then in that quiet, you can open your eyes, staying silent, and just look around, realize that, oh yeah, we're doing this together. We really are. Amazing. So now I'd like to ask my very respected and dear friend, Venerable Ajahn Pasano, who's sitting here with two other monks from the Abhayagiri Monastery. And I asked Ajahn Pasano, how long have you been a monk? And, has it been 40? He said, 56 years? 54? Oh, only 52, sorry. I got the number wrong. He ordained in 1974, 75, 74. 50-some years as a monk. You gotta respect that. I mean, this one meal a day, right? Plus, I went up to him and I said, because I was greeting people and saying hello, and I said, I'm doing my job. And he said, yeah, I don't have to do it today. I get to sit here. But he's been doing it for 50 years, blessing people and meditating, because the monastic life is this combination of both tending inwardly, sila, samadhi, panya, your practices, your virtue, the community, but also being available in some honorable way for others to make offerings and learn from you. So I would like to ask if Ajahn Pasano and the monastics who are here, in whatever way you see fit, maybe it's just one of you, Ajahn Pasano, to lead us or to chant two things, the refuges and the precepts in Pali. And I'd ask that you chant them in a call and response way so that we can follow along with you. And just to remind you that in taking the refuges and the precepts, it's really a way for you to reflect and set the compass of your heart again on what really matters. And while he does that, if you picked up a little piece of paper as you came in and a little red cord, did most of you pick one of those up? Take your red cord out, if you have it. There are some that you can get later, I promise. So you don't have to go out necessarily. But if you have it, we're going to use it after his recitation. But first I have to go and formally ask. This is also part of the tradition. The monks don't just waltz in and say, okay, baby, I'm going to lay it on you. They actually come and they sit with some decorum. More decorum, please. Okay. And then they wait to be invited to teach. And in this case, do my bows quite happily. When I first learned to bow, the abbot of the monastery where I ordained looked at me and he said, "Your ass is sticking up. Get down." You know, you got to learn how to get down. Venerable ones, would you please offer us the triple refuge and the 5 precepts? Yeah. Is this one on? Okay. Yeah, wherever you like.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Jack. And just thank you for inviting us to be a part of this today. And because the Spirit Rock has been bringing blessings into the world for many, many years now. And this is a special occasion, of course, Jack's 80th, but the establishing of a jetty. And jetties are physical reminders of the triple gem and of the blessings that come through the cultivation of integrity and truth. And so that the vehicle for us to access, and traditionally, the vehicle for accessing that integrity and truth are this simple ceremony of taking the 3 refuges in Buddha and Dhamma and Sangha, and taking the 5 precepts, which are a commitment to harmlessness and to truth. And so that I will lead it in a traditional manner, and those who know it can respond. Of course, beginning with the Namo Tassa together, and I'll say it, and then people can respond. And same, going through the refuges one at a time, for 3 times, and then each of the 5 precepts. So, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Okay, let's, this is the chaos part. People mostly know it. Continue, we'll chant it together. When you do the precepts, let's do call and response. Is that okay, Venerable
Perfect.
Sir? Okay.
That works. We'll keep the chaos
People
going.
are smiling. Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is there's a one of our monks in our tradition. He's from a very wealthy family. Is a very influential father who was very powerful, and he was extremely disappointed that his son was going to take ordination as a Buddhist monk, and he was sort of, I can't believe that my son is going to join a organized religion. He was just so disappointed. He said, and his response was, "Oh, it's okay, Dad. In Thailand, Buddhism isn't organized." Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kame Sumichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kame Sumichajara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Sura Meraya Majapamadadhana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Surameraya Majabamatatana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Imani Pancha Sikkhapadani Silena Sukhatinyanti Silena Bhoga Sambada Silena Nibbutiyanti Tasma Silang Visotaye. That was a little chant at the end. That was a bit of an add-on for you, but it's a blessing. That means that these refuges and precepts are the basis of happiness, or that they are a treasure. They lead to the ending of all suffering. So.
They don't say thank you in the temples. They just take it and kind of, but there is a thank you, and that is you have to pull out your little red cord now, because you're going to make a blessing cord, which you can wear or take back or do what you want. And in this blessing cord, or for this blessing cord, I want to remind you, you can hold it up, that for those, this is all voluntary, by the way. We're not going to check you at the door when you leave. The first knot, which was really the knot of refuge, whether you take refuge in the historic Buddha or in the awakened heart and mind that the Buddha represents, or whatever is the refuge of that which is sacred for you, take a moment, having just recited refuge, and reflect on what is truly your highest refuge, and tie a knot in the cord. And then the second of the three knots, the third one you'll tie down by the stupa, was the knot of non-harming, compassion, care for beings. You recited not to kill and steal and lie and those things, which would be really great if they went up the chain of command a bit in this crazy time. But it's really an invitation for the heart to quietly sense your own commitment to integrity and honesty and virtue and non-harming. And in whatever the way that is true for you, tie another knot into the cord. And now your blessing cord is 2/3 activated. We will do the last part down by the stupa, so you can hold that for you. Now I want to talk about the stupa in a little bit, but first we have the delight, at least for me, to honor the generations of people here in different ways who have supported and made this community and all that we've offered to those zillions of people out there, or maybe not zillions, but hundreds of thousands, who made it possible. The practices of mindfulness, compassion, loving kindness, integrity. So I'd like to ask all of you who were teachers, board members, staff members involved with the creation of Spirit Rock in the 1980s to come up here to the carpet. James Barris, Howie Cohn, Sylvia Borstein, John Travis, teachers, board member, staff. I see Mary Ann Clark, Jane Barris. Oh, Spirit Wiseman is coming up. Sharda, Rogel, okay. One of the first things to note is, dear ones, we've gotten a bit older, right? But I want to honor this team because part of the beginning of Spirit Rock happened in the basement of Harwood House, which was this communal house in Berkeley that James and Jane hosted in the rec room or something. All the first meetings of, we need a center out here. We practiced in Naropa and then IMS in Barrie and in India and things. We need our own center. And so they were the ones that actually made it happen. Mary Ann, who's been part of everything that ever happened at Spirit Rock since before it was born. Yeah. So first, before we do anything else, I want you just to gaze at them with loving kindness and gratitude and thank them from your eyes and your heart. And I want you all to keep your eyes open, standing up, and take it in. Because that gratitude is really genuine and important. You did a good thing. Thank you, Sharda and Howie and everyone, Jane, so much, Sylvia. And then I asked 3 of these esteemed teachers if they would offer some deep teachings. We're not going for superficial today. And I gave them an entirely impossible and incredible discipline for Dharma teachers who are known for going on and on. They each, this is James, Sylvia, and Howie, each have 2 minutes to give you the deepest Dharma they can do in 2 minutes. Okay, I've got the hook and the stopwatch. James Barris, you go first. Oh, wait, here, he's bringing you your microphone.
Easy peasy. When my watch, when Jack, you can keep track for me. When Jack said, give your deepest teaching, I thought, well, I'll just give you my basic practice, and hopefully it can be meaningful for you. And it starts out with, we just took the refuges, and my basic practice first is taking refuge in the Buddha, not just the external Buddha, but this Buddha right inside, and really seeing who I am. And it took me a while to get there, but basically I know there's goodness in here. And the more I get in touch with that, then the next thing is to see the Buddha in everyone. And when I am with somebody, meeting them on a retreat or in a one-on-one, or just throughout my life for quite some time, that has been my practice, to just keep looking for the Buddha in all, because the more we look for it, the more people can feel it, and it's inviting the Buddha or Kuan Yin or whatever, however you want to call it, right out. And so I invite us all to keep looking for the goodness and the Buddha in everyone, even the ones who are wounded, even the ones who are unconscious and unaware. It's so easy to see all the suffering around, and it takes practice to keep on looking for the good. So maybe right now, in the last 15 seconds I have, to just get in touch with the Buddha right inside. And then just a quick, once again, look around and see we're all Buddhas. And let's bring it out in each other. And as we leave here, you might just try that as a practice with everyone you meet. So there's my practice, and I share it with you.
Sylvia, dear.
This is such an exciting moment. I like to tell people that actually this is, in another year, it will be 50 years since my first retreat. So this is my 49th, beginning of my 49th year as a practitioner. And one of the things that my husband asked me over all these years, he was most supportive of my being involved in my practice. And some 20 or so years into my practice, he said to me quite casually in the breakfast table, "So, Sil, what do you suppose has changed about you from 25 years of practice and retreat and studying and teaching and traveling and teaching?" I said, "I became kind." And he said, "You were always kind." And I said, "Well, I became kinder." And that actually is I think, the gist of what's happened in 50 years. I've become kinder because over the years, I used to think about the idea when I first started. My teacher said, these are the 3 truths of experience, which if you really know, you'll be liberated from suffering. And I thought, don't tell me, because then it won't count when I have them. You have to, they can't tell me up front. But they told me up front, and I didn't really get why that understanding was going to change me. But actually, as the years went by and as the years go by, you see that what I began to see without thinking about it, but really how actually difficult it is. The first noble truth is it's very hard to do a life with equanimity and with kindness and tact and have the courage to continue it for everybody. And my grandfather, who never could read, he came to the United States unlettered. None of my grandparents could read or write, but I considered him very wise, and he was an elder that I really loved. And he would say, when hard things were happening in the family, he'd say, it's very hard to be a person, which is, I think, a very good summary of the first noble truth. It's very hard to, because by a person, he said it in Yiddish, and the person, the word he used for a person meant a person who was honorable, to be a good person, to manage to keep virtuous in spite of what's happening. Very hard to be a person. And over the years, as I teach now more, I've seen that my intimations of ways in which I had not been as scrupulous with the precepts as I could have been, and that I really discovered that the taking of the precepts and using them as really the context in which I lived made me happier. That taking the precepts makes you a happier person. I've noticed in recent years that His Holiness has said at one time recently, I heard him say, it's not worrisome to...
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
Never mind. From the beginning, they mocked me. He said, it's not important to me what religion a person aspires to. What matters to me is that they be an ethical person. So that, I think, is it. That's what matters to me. And I think this is a practice that cultivates ethical people. And may it be so for a planet in a lot of trouble.
Tough act to follow. Well, practice has also, I would say, after 50 plus years, made me kinder, but not necessarily from trying to be kinder. And that points to what I want to offer today is the What I offer to every group that I have the great good fortune of being with is just the simple reminder that, and I want you to experiment with this right now, that after your last thought has passed and before the next one comes, is there not a kind of vivid clarity? Isn't there a simple sense of being awake and aware? That is completely something that you don't have to create. It's just utterly natural that if I asked you to stop it, you won't be able to. This is what we call loosely in our language, we call it being aware or awareness. But this is really to me, the Buddha that lives in us. And that if you notice after that last thought has stopped and before the next one comes, there is a kind of openness. You could call it emptiness, a kind of spaciousness. And in that simple, open awareness, check this out. Isn't it not true that whatever notions of there being us and them, self and other, just melt away into that natural openness? No dividing line between us. And when your mind is free of its usual preoccupations, after the last one has ceased, before the next one comes, and you're simply here, it is this environment that is literally a split second, a half breath away. It's this environment that the heart starts to quiver. We feel that connection with each other. We naturally become more kind. I care about that which is not really separate from me. So again and again, I've been leading classes, retreats for 41 years now. It all comes down to this ever-present, ever-available, a split second, a half breath away, awareness and clarity. So never forget this. This is your natural state.